Now, I do want to point out this is going to be a pretty short class. There's not really a lot to do as far as getting ready for the new website. There's no access to anything really to do with the website just yet, except for the command marketing profile, which may or may not already be set up for you guys. But we're going to cover everything that's possible to do, and it should only take 30-ish minutes. It's not going to be a full hour class. So to get started getting ready for that new website, we're going to log into our MyKW homepage. So mykw.kw.com, the KW intranet, KW backend, KW homepage, whatever you call it, we need to end up right here. And there's a couple of things we need to do within Playster if you still have that site or if you already have that site in order to get ready for the new site. So we're going to go up in the very top black menu and hover over Technology. Then we'll click on KW Websites, this fourth one down here. And then on this page, you should have a big red button that says Go to my website. Now, if you don't have this button, unfortunately, the next couple of things that we're going to be doing, you're not going to be able to do. It's not going to be possible for you. More than likely, this is because either you're a newer agent, you joined after roughly the beginning of August or middle of July-ish, or you're maybe a more established agent, but your MLS ID didn't get added to your KW white pages until more recently, or it's not there at all just yet. So if you're under one of those cases, you're not going to have this button here. This is only for people that already had the Playster site prior to roughly the middle of July, because around that time, when it was announced that KW and Playster were no longer going to have a relationship starting on October 1st, Playster stopped creating new sites for KW agents. There's kind of no point in it for a site that's only going to be around for a month or two. So agents have had to rely on the older eEdge site, which is perfectly functional. It does the two things that a real estate website has to do. It provides lead capture possibilities for the agent, and it provides listing search for the visitors. Those two things, if you have a website that does those two things, that's all you really need. Anything on top of that is gravy. So if you don't have this button for the time being, you are going to need to use that eEdge website. And that is listed in your your Keller Cloud Setup Complete email in the KW website section. It's going to be below where it lists your email address and above where it lists your KW app link and your app code. That is almost guaranteed to be set up except under some very rare circumstances. So that website is going to be what you're going to use until the new sites come out, which we're told is supposed to be October 1st. We're told that they're supposed to become available. I don't know what this is going to look like in the transition, but they're going to become available September 15th, the same day that Dotloop is switching over to DocuSign. And once that happens, we'll have more information about how to use that site. But for now, it's pretty limited. Anyway, so if you do have this button, go ahead and click on that. We're going to go into the Playster interface. Once we're in Playster, a couple of things we want to do here. One is to, if your site is not already launched, actually, you know what? Sorry, I'm reverting back to what's normally here as Playster 101. Whether your site is launched or not, we actually need to come up here to the top right and click on this grid of 9 squares. And we're going to click on the second item down here, which is Sites. Now, on this list of your sites, there should just be one. If there is more than one, that means you're part of a special case that I don't have time to cover right now. But if you do have more than one site, you're welcome to do this for multiple sites if you want. But if you do have just the one site, you want to make sure to click on Download here. And that's going to download a zip file of all the content in your KW website powered by Playster. It's going to be a zip file right here. And I'm going to bring up my Downloads folder here. Excuse me. So this is a zip file. If you're on Mac, I believe you should still be able to extract that just fine. But if you're on Windows, especially Windows actually 7 or above, you can just right-click on this, and we're going to extract all. And it's opening on my other screen here. And you're going to leave this exactly the way it is, so it creates the folder wherever you are currently. You don't have to check this box. It's going to be checked by default. I recommend unchecking it. And then we'll just click on Extract. Now, if you're on a Mac, I believe you've got essentially the same option to do with unpack, unzip, extract, something like that, if you command click on that zip file. I don't have a Mac, so I can't verify that 100%. If anybody does have a Mac and you know that keyboard shortcut, definitely paste that in here in the chat window. Once that file is extracted, we're going to open up that new folder that it created. So it's going to be named the same thing as the zip file, just without the zip part. And in here, there's going to be a number of different things to open up. This first one, images.txt, it's going to be links to the addresses of any images that you've uploaded to the site. So on Scott's site here, we only have one custom image that we've uploaded. If you have multiple custom images, like maybe in your slideshow, if you've got a couple of different slideshows that you've swapped through, if you've got some images you put into the blogs posts, or into your pages, or into your testimonials, or anything like that, any images that you have uploaded that weren't provided automatically by default by Playster, links to those images are going to be in this file. So I'm going to highlight this and copy it. I'm going to open that in a new tab here. So I'm going to paste that in the address bar and hit enter. And this is one of the images that has been uploaded to Scott's site. It's a nice plain KW logo. Any other images? Are you going to go over the other info for the newer agents that you talked about? That was basically already covered. If you're newer, you're not going to get a Playster site. Playster has not been creating new sites since roughly middle of July. So if you've joined since then, you're not going to get a Playster site. You're going to have to rely on that eEdge site until the new sites come out in a couple of weeks. Okay, so that image is there. You can right-click that and save it, and you can upload that elsewhere on the new site once it comes through. Let's see here. So that is a notepad file there. So these text files, you're guaranteed to be able to open these whether or not you have Word or something installed. If we open up options here, this is going to be what's under that site info section. If you're familiar with Playster, it's under site settings, and there's a section called site info. You're going to have that title. No, that you can ignore that blog name. You're going to have the title. You're going to have the subtitle if there is one. The font package, you can ignore that. There we go. There's the site subtitle. You've got links to your social media profiles that you put in there if you've put any in. There's the link to the logo for the site, which was the same thing that we just looked at there. Link to, again, social media stuff here. And then if you had anything in the compliance footer section, again, in that site info section, it's going to have that text and URL here as well. So this is especially for, agents in Texas. If you've got the link to your CPN and your IABS, those links are going to be in here. In this file here, page, this is going to be the contents of any pages that are created on your site. So there's going to be one page here is featured listings, got local Orlando resources, got buyer resources, areas, testimonials. So each of those is going to have a title. It's going to tell you the status of whether it was published live on the site or not. Looks like these are all published. Otherwise, it would say draft. I don't know why it's not giving me a published date. That's weird. But last modified would be the last time that it was changed. And then this gives you the template that the page was chosen to use. So certain pages within Playster don't have a section for a site content, nowhere you can put in your own text, put in your own images, and that would be things like featured listings here. But other pages like this local Orlando resources is a default page template here, and that does have a section for a description and a title in there. And it looks like, there we go. Let's scroll down to this about page here. Regardless of whether you've ever edited your site, you're going to have some content here. You see this content section. So if you've got an about page here, there's an about page on the new site, we're assuming. You can paste in this content into that about page. Now what it's not showing me here is those images, which you would have to have downloaded again separately from that images file there. You copy and paste that, download the image from Playster. Down here in post, this is a separation between pages, which are different than blog posts. Blog posts are like articles in the newspaper. Pages are like billboards, signs that are more or less permanent. So a post here is any blog posts that were created on the site. Now all of these are going to be default ones that came with the site, but they're all going to have the same properties here. It's going to have a title. It's going to have that status of published or draft, last modified date, and then here is the content here. And this is the full HTML content of anything that you put into that post or page. So if you've got image addresses in there, if you've got links in there, if you've got any tables in there, all that HTML code is going to be here theoretically to copy and paste into whatever new site, new pages that you're going to be using. And then in this readme.txt, this is basically saying, it's explaining what each of those files is going to be. And basically, it's going to say the contents will be familiar to your new website vendor. You are your website vendor, unfortunately. So it doesn't go into very much detail here, but if you do need additional help with this, we're going to have more information about copying this content into the new site once the new site becomes available. Now, I do want to warn you, my understanding of the new site is it's basically going to be, there's a search bar, there's going to be some information about you and contacting you, the agent, and some lead capture, and that's it. There's no blog in it. You're not going to be able to create any custom pages. You're not going to be able to create any menu items, at least at first. I don't know how long that's going to last, when new features are going to be added, but from what I've seen in the previews, the sites are going to be very, very minimal and simple. There's going to be search, lead capture, information about you, the agent, and that's it. So any of this content here is actually kind of irrelevant for the time being. You're just going to want to save these files, and then if and when the site gets, the new site gets whatever features that these files are analogous to, then we'll have information about getting that information into the new site. Okay, so that's downloading the content of your current site to eventually be put into the new site. The other thing we need to do here in Playster is make sure that the site address that you want is already reserved for you. So the new sites are going to have the same structure as the Playster sites here. They're going to be whatever it is you choose, .kw.com. So like Scott here, he's Scott Leroy Marketing .kw.com. So with that first part before the first dot, you get to choose what that is here in Playster prior to the new sites coming out. And when they do come out, whatever's here in Playster is automatically going to be translated into those new sites. Now again, for newer agents or agents who didn't have their MLS ID in the white pages in time, unfortunately this isn't going to apply to you, and you're going to have to choose that site address once the new sites come out. And what you want might already be taken by someone else. Another thing to cover about those site addresses is there are certain addresses, and they didn't say how many, but there are certain addresses that are going to be reserved that agents cannot choose. You can't choose like Gary.KellerWilliams.com. That's reserved for Gary Keller. That's, that kind of thing. You're not going to be able to choose like TampaRealEstate.kw.com. Those kinds of things are reserved, set aside, so that agents can't choose them. You're going to have to basically play off your name, maybe play off your location, something like that. But if the site name that you want when the new sites come out is either already taken or reserved, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. There's no petition. There's no way to change that. You're just going to have to select one that is available. So while we're here in Playster, if we have this ability, we're going to go into Edit Site here, and we're going to make sure to change the address of the Playster site to the one that we actually want to move over to the new site. So we're here under Site Settings here, we're going to scroll down to the bottom under the More section, and we'll click on Custom Domain here, this third one down. And this is where you're going to be able to change this first part right here. Before this first dot, you can change what it says right here. So we'll click on Edit over here on the right. And you're going to put in whatever you want it to be here in this box. You could do something like Scott Simply Sells. You could do just your name, Scott Leroy. Apparently we didn't do the marketing here, but I could add marketing. There we go, that kind of thing. And once you've decided what you want it to be, you have to check that availability to make sure someone else doesn't already have that site address there. One thing to point out is that you can't do any special characters here. So you can't do Scott's Homes with an apostrophe there. It's not going to allow you to save that. It's not even going to allow you to check that. You have to take out the apostrophe, and then you can check the availability. And if it is available, you can just click Save, and that'll be applied as your Playster site address now, and it will become the new site address when those become available. Now, if it's something that is not disallowed, so it doesn't have like a special character like that apostrophe, but it's already taken by somebody else, this is what will happen. I'll check that availability, and it tells me that's not available, but it does suggest some alternatives based on your name that's in the Playster profile that was automatically created when Playster created the account for you through KW. So it will do those based on your name. If it is unavailable, that means someone else has already taken it. You're just going to have to change that name. So we're going to do something like Scott Leroy Marketing. Check that availability. That is available. I could save that, and now that would be Scott's site address. Now, I'm not actually going to change this because we're happy with the Scott Leroy here. But whatever you do change this to, make sure you click that save button, and then on the 15th, or actually I can't even say that. We're unsure when this is going to happen, but either the 15th or October 1st, this site address is going to become the new site address. So you're going to keep what's here. So if you've got this on business cards, on marketing materials, things like that, you don't have to change that because you're keeping what's here in the new site. Now, one thing we want to cover here is that it's very important, or something that is very important for you to consider. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So something that's very important for you to consider is the potential of getting your own custom domain so that it doesn't matter what you choose here on this page, and it doesn't matter what you choose for the new site that ends in .kw.com. What you can do right now to guarantee that you get the site address that you want, even if you don't have Playster right now, is to go ahead and purchase your own custom domain through GoDaddy, through the KW Domain Store, through Google Domains, through HostGator, wherever you want to buy your domain. You can go purchase your own custom domain, and it's going to be whatever it is you choose. So it could be like, I could get robertgreenstreet.com, or we could get johnsmith.com, or we could get, Rachel right here. We could get rachelheadley.com. And you don't have to have the KW part there, and you don't have to worry about whether it's already taken by somebody else or reserved by the automatic system. You could get, rachelsellstampa.com or something like that. And then you can apply that right now to the Playster site, and then when the new site comes out, you could forward that over to the new site. So that's something that we very strongly suggest that you think about, getting your own custom domain. They're not very expensive. The most I've seen is between $10 and $20 per year. Now, if you want to get one of those, like TampaRealEstate.com, that's probably already owned by somebody. But if it wasn't owned by somebody, it's probably pretty expensive. Your better bet is to go and brand yourself, your name, your business. So like rachelsellshomes.com or something like that. One thing to point out, or one thing that we wanted to share with you guys, is that we actually have a link through GoDaddy where you guys can actually get a custom domain for 99 cents for the first year. After that, it would be regular price, which again is normally between $10 and $20 per year. But for the first year, you get your .com domain for 99 cents. So it's almost no risk to get your own custom domain to get started. And then that custom domain is what you would put on your business cards, on your marketing materials, on your billboards, on anything that you want to share your website on. And that custom domain stays with you regardless of what company you're with, regardless of what website provider changes KW makes. So we've had the eAgency site, eEdge, Playster, and now we've got this other one. So if you had your custom domain, it didn't matter what the website was that it was pointed to, that custom domain stays the same. Now, one of the misconceptions, and I don't know where this comes from, one of the misconceptions we get a lot is that if I buy my custom domain and I connect it to my KW website, now KW owns that domain. No, that's the entire point of you purchasing a custom domain, is you own the domain forever and always until if and when you let it expire or you sell it. That is your domain, belongs to you, owned by you, 100% yours. Don't know how I can be any clearer with that. Your domain is your domain. Even if you point it at one of the KW sites, it stays your domain. You could then tomorrow point it somewhere else. You could go next week and point it at your Facebook page. You could go next month and point it at you know, shoot, you could point it at the main KW website if you felt like it. It's your domain. You can do what you want with it. So that link that I just shared with you guys there is a link to our domain FAQ on our website. I'm going to open that up here. FAQ is short for frequently asked questions, and this is a summary of how to choose your custom domain. Well, first it's why you want a custom domain, and then how to choose one. And it's gone through a bunch of the same things that I've covered already. The main things I want to point out on this page is right here at the top is the link to get your 99-cent custom domain, and then it's also near the bottom here, the link for your 99-cent custom domain. It's the same link. You go purchase your domain through GoDaddy, and it's 99 cents for the first year. One thing to point out is this does have to be a new account with GoDaddy. So if you already have a GoDaddy account and you've already purchased other domains, this deal unfortunately will not apply there. You'd have to create a new GoDaddy account with a new email address in order to get this deal. Now, once you do that and you purchase this domain with that new account, it's very easy to transfer that domain from this new GoDaddy account to your previous already existing GoDaddy account. So you can get that savings and then just ignore that new account that you created. And then another thing to point out on this page is that once you do purchase your domain, we have a complimentary service here at Scott Leroy Marketing where we can help point your custom domain to your KW website. So for the time being, when you fill out this form, this will be pointed to the Playster site if it's available. If the Playster site isn't available right now, it would be pointed to the eEdge site. Once the new sites come out, and we find out exactly what the rules and settings are for pointing them to the new site, then we'll change that to be able to point to the new site. Now, again, that's going to be minimum 2 weeks from now. The new sites are coming out on the 15th. There may not be the forwarding capability right there on the 15th. It may not happen until the 1st or maybe even later, but we'll figure that out and we'll get that set up as soon as it does happen. And then the last thing we want to cover for you guys, let me make sure I'm covering everything. Okay, so we've covered how to download your Playster site content for use on the new site when it does ever get that capability. We've covered how to set the address of the Playster site so that it will automatically translate over to the new site, so you save the address that you want. And then we've got here how to get your custom domain for 99 cents, or you could get it elsewhere for more if you want to, but through GoDaddy for this 99 cents. And then the last thing we're going to cover here is how to get some of your information as the agent to automatically populate on the new site as soon as they become available. And that's going to be through the command agent profile, the command marketing profile actually. So we're going to go log into command. So we're going to go to agent.kw.com. And you're going to log in there using the same username and password that you use for My KW and for the KW app and KW Video and Keller Mortgage and a bunch of other KW services. They all use the exact same username and password. Once we're logged in here to command, up at the very top right, you'll click on your name. Whether or not there's a picture, you can click on your name. And we're going to go to settings, the third one down here. And then on our settings page over here on the left, we'll click on Connect Settings to drop that down, expand it down. And there's only one option here. We'll click on Marketing Profile. Now this is the profile that's automatically going to populate information and images and things onto the new site once it becomes available. So starting at the top, this is going to be pretty self-explanatory, your picture. You do have to put a picture here if you want to save the rest of the information in this profile. Anything that says required or has a little red asterisk, you have to have that in order to save the profile. So you would upload your picture here. Now it recommends a size of 360 by 360 pixels. That's not hard and fast. It's not required. It's just in a lot of places your picture is going to be shown in a square. So it's better to upload a square picture. So you'd want to crop your picture to be square before you upload it here. Same for the logo. 360 by 360 is the recommendation. Again, in most places it's going to be shown as a square, so you upload a square image, or it's going to be shown in a circle. Sorry, I forgot to cover that. Or it's going to be shown in a circle like this, and a square shows best when it's cropped into a circle here. Now, do you want to point out that there's a limit of 1 megabyte on your picture? So if your picture is exactly 360 by 360 pixels, almost guaranteed that it's going to fit under that 1 megabyte limit. If you get much bigger than that, maybe 500 by 500, that might be pushing that 1 megabyte limit. And a lot bigger than that, it's not going to accept the file. You need to resize it smaller. Now, if you need help resizing that image, we do have separate resources and instructions for how you can do that. We can get those sent to you guys if you do send us that question at support@scottleroymarketing.com. Under that, it's pretty self-explanatory. Your name, first name, last name, license number. This is required in California, Nevada, and New York. Now, the way that it's formatted is going to be different depending on the state, but more often than not, you're usually safe with doing your state, so like NV, and then let's see, if we already have a GoDaddy domain, then it's posted to our Placer site. Do we need to add a custom domain or their site settings on the Placer website for it to transfer to the new website October 1st? I don't know, is the short version. My understanding of the new sites is, and they only mentioned this in the very briefest sense, that the forwarding of custom domains to the new sites is not going to function the exact same way as it does currently for the Placer sites. More than likely what's going to have to happen is it's going to initially need to be a simple 301 HTML forwarding, which may not mean anything to you guys, but what am I trying to say? It's instead of the DNS records, the mapping that we've done in the past for the Placer sites, it's going to be a little bit different than that to go to the new sites. And we'll get more concrete information on that once the new sites come out and we get more information from KW International. So the answer to your question right now is, I don't know. We don't know. We don't have that information at this point. It's a good question, though. Okay, so here for the license number, it's usually best just to start with your state, and then in California and New York, it's best to put in your DRE, Department of Real Estate, and then number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever your license number is. Usually best to put in the state, the body that's giving you the number, and the number itself. If you're a member of a team, put in that team name there. Any designations that you've earned here, so CRS, GRE, CIP, all those acronyms, the alphabet there, you can put those in here separated by commas. For a biography, this is going to be customer-facing, client-facing, so you probably want to paste in the same biography here that you have in other places. Okay, so if your 135 says they had a problem uploading the DBA logo, we'll get to that in just a minute. Yeah, and it's probably because it was too big. The logos that you can get from the KW Connect site are pretty big. They're about, shoot, I don't know how big they are. I'll have to go look it up. But I'm pretty sure they are over 1 megabyte. So you'd actually need to shrink those down to where the longest side is roughly 360 pixels. So that'll shrink the file size, and then you should be able to upload it there at that point. Now, one thing that I want to cover here, I found this out the hard way. If you do have trouble uploading an image, it tells you this image can't be uploaded, it's too big or whatever. Unfortunately, you're going to have to refresh the page and start over and put in everything else, and then just don't upload that image until you can get it the right size, and then you go save it down at the bottom. So if you have a trouble uploading an image, you'll have to refresh the page and start over because it still won't save when you get to the bottom because the image is goofed up. Mobile phone, office phone, not sure why those are separate. DBA logo is 95 kilobits and couldn't get it uploaded. Interesting. That's a good question. In that case, what I think you would want to do is go ahead and send it over to us at support@scottleroymarketing.com and include your login information for command, and we'll try to get that in place there. We'll see if we can figure out what happened. I don't have a good answer for why it wouldn't do it if it's that size. Maybe it was too small, or I don't know. So we'll try to figure that out if you'll send it over to us. So the mobile phone and office phone here, my understanding is this is supposed to be like if you have a desk phone. A lot of people don't, so you're welcome to just put the same number in both boxes here. Fax, link to your website, email address here. For the website, we do recommend going ahead and putting in the https:// in front of your website address. You can leave out the S here if you want to, if you think it's going to cause problems. But go ahead and put in the full address there so that when it gets applied to links on marketing materials and whatnot, it has the best chance of working correctly. There is an issue in eEdge, at least, where when you put in the website address in there in the My Account section, if you don't include the http:// the links don't work right on certain email providers when marketing materials get sent to them. If you do put it in, it ends up working properly on those. So for the safest, most, compatible link, we do recommend including that http:// DBA logos, the same rules as the first two, roughly, or they recommend 360 by 360, but as long as it's under 1 megabyte, it should go in. I don't know why this one didn't. And if it doesn't, if it's under that file size, then send it over to us. We'll give it a try. Market center name here. This depends on your locality, whether it needs to be just, the end of it, just the franchise name there, or if you need the actual full Keller Williams Realty Little Rock or whatever the DBA name is that's registered with the Department of Real Estate. You need to check with your broker about the name that shows in this box here. Street address of your market center does need to be there, so throw that in there. And then license number is optional of your brokerage, but you're welcome to put that in there as well. For the legal footer here, this would be, at least as for the time being, a good place to put in your TREC links if you're in Texas, links to your CPN and IABS. The thing is, you're not going to be able to put in any HTML code here, so you need to do something like Texas Real Estate Commission Consumer Protection Notice, and then do a colon, and then do the link to your file there, http://drive.google or images.marketleader.com/blah blah blah, but whatever the rest of that link is there, you can just copy that link from your email signature or from whatever's in place already on your websites. You just right click that and copy the address or copy the location. Depending on the browser that you're using, it's going to do one or the other of those, address or location. You'll paste that in right here. Same for the IABS, that kind of thing. Under that here in the social network section, this does require the full link, the whole http:// blah, blah, blah. Whereas in other places like in Playster, it only wants this part after the slash. Here in the command marketing profile, it does want the entire link here. And if there's any profile that you don't have, obviously you would leave that blank. And then down here lastly is the link to your KW app. If you don't know or don't have that link off the top of your head, it's really easy to get. We're going to come back to, we'll leave this tab open. We're going to come back to our My KW homepage. And then on the homepage in the eEdge control panel here at My Marketing, we'll click on this plus sign just to the right of My Marketing, and we'll click on Manage eAgency Website. And that's going to open in a new tab. Don't get hung up on that eAgency website terminology. That site was retired about 5 years ago. The only reason this interface still exists is for this one purpose, for administering the KW app. So once you click on Manage eAgency Website, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to show you what you're seeing, but I can explain it very well. So you're going to, on the left, click on section 4.0 and then section 4.5, which is mobile property search. Once you click on that 4.5 in the center or on the right side, whatever you want to call it, there should be a drop down. When you click on that drop down, you'll select your market center if it's not already selected. And then underneath that is going to be the link to your KW app. It's going to go http://app.kw.com and then /KW and then a custom code. It's 5 or 6 characters there. That last part is the part that identifies it as your app versus the next agent's app or the plain KW app. So you're going to highlight and copy that full link, the whole http:// and you're going to paste it here in this box here. And it's going to look very similar to this, app.kw.com/KW. And then this part is going to be different. It's going to be different for each and every single agent. It's going to be unique to you. Once you've got that put in there, make sure to click Save down here at the bottom to apply all of these changes. It lets you know that it was saved there. Now, this profile is where the new sites are going to pull a majority of their information about you from, your name, your picture, your logo, that kind of thing. And that's as far as we can get right now with putting any kind of content on the new site because they're not available yet. So that covers everything that's possible to do regarding getting ready for the new site until they become available actually on the 15th. So that, again, to recap, is to download the content from your Playster site, which can hopefully eventually be uploaded to the new site or copied over to the new site. That's excuse me, reserving the address that you want for the new site through the Playster site. And again, both of those are not going to be available for anybody who either joined after the middle of July or didn't get their MLS ID into the white pages after the middle of July. So if you don't have Playster, those first two options aren't going to be available. We also covered how to get your custom domain. We also showed that link there where you can get that 99-cent domain if you don't have one yet and you set up a new GoDaddy account. But if you do already have a GoDaddy account or you've already got your domain, then you know they're not very expensive, usually between $10 and $20 a year. And then lastly, we showed you how to make sure to fill out your marketing profile within Command, which is where a lot of your information, contact information, is going to pull from in the new KW sites. That's going to do it for our preparing for the new KW websites through Command. Everybody have a great day.